Welcome to episode one of Success Story, where we get a chance to interview people involved in the business world to find out how exactly they have successfully involved themselves within the realms of business. My name is Manal, and I'm here with
Serena.
Josh.
today's episode. We will be interviewing Joshua Miller. Since 2018, Joshua Miller has been working as a freelance photographer in the Sacramento and LA area. Specializing in sports media, Joshua has produced high quality media for high school and college level sports. He is currently also a student football creative for USC, where he currently attends as an economics major. In today's podcast, we will be discussing with Joshua what exactly it takes to run a successful business, specifically as a high school/ college level student.
All right, Joshua, first question. In terms of your business, how do you define success?
In terms of success, it really starts primarily with just kind of making sure everything is how you want it to be. You don't really want to define success as how much money you make. That's obviously an important aspect, especially if it's part of your career, but not every business endeavor that you take part in has to be something that you want to be your career. So because of that, money isn't always the primary driving force. So in circumstances like mine, I don't want to be a photographer for the rest of my life. Like it's not the main priority that I have, but it's just sort of like a hobby that became a business. So because of that, the business portion of it is kind of to the side. So the primary aspect that I look for in terms of tracking success is determining whether the product that I'm producing is up to the quality that I want it to be, and that I feel like I'm expressing myself in a way that allows me to use it as a creative outlet. So I think that the main way is just by gauging if you're happy with um, the work that you're doing and the work that you're putting out, because at the end of the day, that's the most important part, especially if it's not something that you rely on as a primary source of income.
I actually really like your answer. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't agree with your answer, but I personally agree with it and how money doesn't have to always define what you're doing. I really like your answer.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But moving on to our second question, we want to know what mainly inspired you to start photography. Oh my God, what mainly inspired you to start photography as a high school student?
So as a high school student, it started freshman year, 2018, like we mentioned. I was on the basketball team. I ran track too, but in the off season, there's really not that much to do besides conditioning, which, I had to do obviously, but it wasn't like something that was very fun. So I kind of figured a way to have fun was to just take pictures of football, which was during a season where I didn't have a sport. So I just went to the football games. I knew players on the team, and I know everybody likes pictures. So I just brought my camera and started taking pictures. And eventually that blossomed into something much larger. So freshman year, I was doing it for free. I was just going on the team bus, traveling with the team to away games and all that, just getting everybody pictures for free just because I enjoyed doing it. And then COVID hit, obviously, so that kind of got put to an end for a little bit. And we came back senior year in person again. And I kind of picked up where I left off, doing the same thing. And I started taking it more seriously because at that time I wasn't playing any sports after that. So I had pretty much all the free time I needed because it was just school and then that at the time. So I'll go to football games. At this point, I had a better camera than I had freshman year as well. So the product was a lot better. So a lot of people were willing to pay for it, what they previously were not. So that's kind of when it made the transition into more of a business instead of a hobby. So that's when I started charging initially. And then I was like, oh, shoot, I can make money off this. And I enjoy doing it at the same time. So it's kind of the perfect combination. So I started going to all the football games, and then I transitioned into um, other sports, and then even things outside of sports like it is now. So
Right, that's actually super cool. I really like how like you kind of started like with something that you were like passionate about, and then you built your way up to like, hey, I'm passionate about it and I can make money off it. Because I feel like a lot of us are so like on like money, 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 which of course, I
mhm.
mean, yeah, it's money, but like, I think that your happiness comes first, and if you're not doing something that you're like passionate about, it's not really like worth it. So yeah, I definitely like that answer.
All right, next question. Were there any obstacles you had to overcome, and were these obstacles heightened due to your young age?
I would say the primary obstacles I had to overcome were just getting better. It's kind of obvious, but when you're not that good, there's people that have already been established in the industry that are obviously doing things that you haven't been doing for a while. So they're much better than you. They're much further ahead of you in their journey. So I think the hardest part was trying not to compare. yourself to people that are much further along in their journey because I just started, so I probably had like a couple months of experience under my belt, like starting senior year, and I'm on Instagram comparing myself to people who have been doing this for like 5, 6, 7 years. So I'm like, why does my stuff not look like theirs? And it's just as simple as, oh, they have more experience than me. They've been doing it longer. So the hardest obstacle, which it's not something that like you just get over. It still like happens even as you get better. But I've gotten better at handling it. It's just trying not to compare yourself because, like I said, comparison is a thief of joy. So just understand that your path is your own and that you shouldn't be rushed by what other people are doing because everybody has their own personal experience and everybody has their own personal path to becoming better. So if I hadn't done that, I probably would be a lot worse than I am now because I would have spent a lot more of my time focusing on other people's stuff instead of getting better myself. So kind of just putting my head down, turning the blinders on and just focusing on what I had to do to get better as opposed to focusing on what other people who are already good were doing.
I like that. I like how you're focusing on yourself. That's a really good way to go about life there. And a quick follow-up question. It's a common idea that age plays a huge role in the productivity of business. What is your stance on that?
Um, I I agree in some ways because with age comes experience, but at the end of the day, if you're good at what you do, you're good at what you do. It doesn't really matter how old you are. Especially out here in LA now, I know a lot of photographers who are like younger than me even, or around the same age as me that are better than people who have been doing this stuff for like 10 years because it's just a different level of understanding from the youth, especially with this sort of industry, because it applies to social media and things like that. So we kind of have a more keen understanding of the lane than a lot of older people who started earlier prior to the social media age do. So because of that, sometimes it's even an advantage to be younger because we have a deeper connection and understanding with what people are looking for in the modern day. So but besides that, being young does kind of provide some obstacles in the like business portion because a lot of people will overlook you simply because your age. Like sometimes it doesn't even matter how good you are. Like you can be 10 times better than somebody who's been doing it for a long time, but they'll go with the other person just because of their age, or they don't think that because, oh, you're 16 years old or you're 17 years old, that like no way you could actually be this good, even though you're literally showing them your work right now, but they'll still kind of push that to the side and go with somebody that's older simply because of that number. So that's a hard obstacle that's due to age. And also, like I mentioned, sports, you have to get credentialed for a lot of events and stuff like that, or even like non-sports like concerts and all that type of things. A lot of them are age restricted, so like, a lot of people have to be 18 plus. So, or even 21 plus for certain events. Like I remember I had an event that I was scheduled to go to, but there's problems with the promoter because I wasn't 21 yet. So there's little stuff like that that you run into because of your age. But you kind of just gotta deal with it when it comes and just do what you can.
Right, for sure. So our next question is going to be, how would you describe your work-life balance now that you are in college?
College is, if I'm being honest, it's not. It's a similar workload to high school. The classes are harder, and the transition is more difficult because you're living on your own. But I would say the course load is a lot heavier in high school, at least for me, because high school I'm taking 6 classes, whereas college I'm only taking 4 per semester. So I've probably the same amount of work, but it's not like impossible to do. It's pretty much the same, like how amount of time that I have in my spare. So I basically just do my homework, do what I have to do on that front, and then I have a good portion of time to do other stuff. So like for example, when I work for the football team, um, all the games are on Saturdays or Fridays sometimes. So I'll just do my homework throughout the week and then gear up on Saturday and then edit on Sunday and then go back to work on Monday. So it was kind of a good smooth transition and it wasn't anything that's overwhelming, but it's definitely important that you prioritize your schoolwork because if I hadn't prioritized that or gotten that out of the way before participating in whatever camera work I was doing, it would have been almost impossible because I would have had to put one thing to the side. And if I had to put one thing to the side, then the quality of either one wouldn't have been as good as it needed to be. So it's just important to kind of schedule that and prioritize your schoolwork first and get that out of the way so that you can have the free time to do whatever you need to do professionally.
That concludes part 1 of our interview with Joshua Miller. We hope you continue to join us for this discussion in part 2.